What makes humans different from other primates? One might say that our use of tools, language, abstract thought or clothing set us apart. But it's not uncommon to see orangutans in the wild using leaves as a kind of coat to protect them from the rain. And it's been observed that parent orangutans teach their young verbal sounds associated with predators once the danger is already passed, which is obviously a sign of language but also abstract thought. Chimps have been seen using rocks or battens made from tree branches for cracking nuts, as well as blades of grass or twigs for fishing out termites from termite mounds to eat. They've even been seen using bitter and otherwise non-nutritious plants as a kind of herbal remedy for treating sickness. I would argue that the manipulation and creation of fire is one of the few traits that are in all degrees absent in other primates. The human lineage has relied on fire for an immense period of time, with some of the earliest evidence of fire use dating to about 1 million years ago and associated with Homo erectus occupation of the Wonderwerk cave in the northern Cape of South Africa. The ability to produce fire rather than relying on natural processes such as lightning strikes would have been a game changer for our ancestors, as fire has been used for producing light and warmth, processing food, producing mastics, smoking hides to waterproof them, woodworking, pottery production, and the clearing of vegetation for agricultural purposes, which of course would have come later on in prehistory. That being said, I'd like to show you 4 of the more widespread methods of creating fire by friction, whose origins trace back to the prehistoric period. Over the next few days, I'll be demonstrating the hand drill, the pump drill, the bow drill, and the fire plough methods. So, before I can build my fire, I need to make my tools. Here I've got a piece of quite fine-grained quartzite. I'm going to try some to get some blade flakes off of it. So I've got my hammerstone, leg leather, work. Stuff's not the best material, but that's what I have. I think that should work. Maybe get a few more. There we go. Okay. Got a couple of good flakes here. That should do it. Now I'm gonna also modify one of them to make a concave scraper, and that's going to be to clear up my spindle sticks when I need to get rid of the friction between them and my hands. This is specifically for the hand drill. Okay. Should be fine. Maybe get another one. Okay, so there we go. That's going to be my concave scraper. And then I've also got a blade here to work. Got a blade here and one here, so we should be good to go. Alright, so the first prehistoric friction fire method that I'll be looking at is the hand drill Now, this is the most common prehistoric friction fire method. It's been found in Africa, Australia, the Americas, Eurasia, pretty much anywhere in the world. So it consists of the spindle stick and the hearth or the baseboard. I'm going to be demonstrating making and using one of these today. Find myself a suitable piece of wood for a baseboard. Okay, so you have a nice dry stick. I'm going to split it, or try to get a nice flat surface. There we go, so I've got a nice flat surface that I'll use as the top of my baseboard. Now I'm going to create a dimple in it. And that dimple is going to receive my spindle stick to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. I don't need all this material, so I'm going to get rid of some of it. It should be pointed out that the wood I'm using is coastal silver oak. It's a good wood around here, nice hardwood. So let's see, that's okay. Okay, that's quite a generous dimple, but that'll work. And now I'm going to cut a notch into the side of the baseboard. So that will be used to catch the char and hopefully build up an ember. The Inuits seem to use various ways of making their baseboards. Some of them use the kind of a step. They cut a step into the wood that would catch the ember. Some of them would make what's the word I'm looking for? A groove in the wood, and that would catch the ember. Almost got it. Okay, there we go. There's my notch. It's good practice that the notch goes into the center of where your spindle stick is going to be. If it's too shallow, the notch, then you might not catch the ember effectively, which is just going to waste your energy. Oh, so I should say, this is the bird's nest, or my tinder bundle. This is just some dry grass. I've got some more here. And I've got a piece of Norfolk pine bark. You can use a splinter of wood or leaves, something like that. This is just going to be to hold my my char. Don't think I need that right now. So I'm going to place this on the ground, make sure that it's quite stable. the sand is quite soft, so I'll be using this. Okay, that should be stable. For my spindle stick, to make that, you'll take a branch of wood. The length of your lower arm from your elbow to your middle finger. It can be longer or a bit shorter. If it's shorter, like this one here, that's a very short spindle stick, then your passes are going to be much shorter. So it's going to be more difficult to make your fire. If it's too long, then you make your pass, and when your hands are down here, the top of the wood, the top of your stick is going to be, there's going to be a, can't speak today, but it's going to be all over the place, so it's not that great. Okay, so when you have your stick, you will take your blade or a nice coarse rock, and you'll scrape your stick like this. And then once you scraped it all the way around, I'm not going to do that now because I've already done that. You can, if you want, remove the bark. I don't have to, but as long as the bark holds nice and firm to the stick, then it's not going to be causing any problems like splintering or unnecessary friction between my hand and the spindle. And then I'm going to take another branch, and use this as my burnishing stick. And that's going to polish my spindle stick so that it's more comfortable to use, and so that it saves my calluses. Scraping is good for getting rid of these lumps and stuff on the stick. As you can see, I've already used this one to make a fire. What you'll do is grind that down so that it's rounded and that it fits nicely onto your baseboard, into the notch, the dimple. Should be good enough. I'm going to halt myself a little bit and cut little notches into the end of it, and that's just going to help the friction a little bit. You don't want to polish the end of the stick, and sometimes that does happen when you're making your passes. Maybe you're going too slow or something and you end up polishing it, and that's not going to be good for your friction. So to start, you're going to go slow and you're going to build up the speed. You're going to be pushing down. And you want to make use of the full length of your palms and fingers, and that also saves your calluses. Muggies are getting to me. So I've got my ember. take that and transfer it to your tinder bundle. You can use very fine tinder like the seeds of bulrushes or phragmites, reeds, or even fine bird's feathers. They'll help you along. Now, I must say this grass makes a lot of smoke and it doesn't catch too easily, but at least this grass should be a bit better. So, I'm going to compact my bird's nest. Not too compact because you want the air to get your ember. Place your ember nicely. Make sure it doesn't all disperse. And now you blow it. Yo, very smoky, so almost there. It usually doesn't fight with you this much, but I suppose it's just the grass I've chosen. So there I have my fire. Right. So the next friction fire method we'll be looking at is the pump drill. This method's been found in the Americas. It's been used by the Inuits as well as various Native American groups. And also later on, not during prehistory, but it's also been used by the Romans, so it's been around in Eurasia as well. It consists of your counterweight. This can be made of wood or clay or stone, your spindle stick, your pump arm, and a strong abrasion resistant cordage. I'm using linen string here. In the past I've tried using some rudimentary twine that I've made from ficus, Cape ficus, bast fibers, but this eventually wore down actually quite quickly and then snapped. I've also tried using leather strips that have been twisted together like this, and this is abrasion resistant, but after repetitive stretching it snaps. So I ended up using this linen string. I've got my half. This is Norfolk pine, and this is split pine, so that I've got a nice flat surface that meets the ground, so that it's nice and stable. I'm also using this slab of sedimentary stone as a base. And I've got this piece of bark here for catching the ember. Some people suggest you don't use pine wood for your friction fires because it contains quite a lot of resin sap, especially in the heartwood. But this pine, I find it's perfectly fine. This is actually the first stuff that I learned how to do friction fires on. So this method works. But oh, I should say, I've made my notch and my dimple already, and it's a little bit more prominent than what I would usually make for my hand drill. I've made them both a little bit deeper, and that's to stop this from slipping around. It's a little bit less forgiving than the hand drill. I should also point out that these rotation friction fire methods could also be used as for drilling, in conjunction with a stone tip or sand and water aggregate. Alright, so as you can see, I've twisted this here, and now all I need to do is pump, and that will rotate, and that's what the counterweight's for. It gives it momentum. I'm using both my feet to stabilize the baseboard, because it kind of prevents stuff like that from happening, but it's going to happen regardless because I am an amateur with this method. I'll try one more like this, otherwise I'll probably kneel on my... Yep. Okay. I'm going to try a different way of sitting. That should hold it nicely in place. Now I can see a little bit better my notch for my ember. No. Okay, let me round this end quickly. I find this method does take a little bit more careful preparation than the hand drill. As you can see, I struggle with this method a bit. I'm not very comfortable with it. Try using shorter strokes to keep a little bit more tension. It hopefully doesn't slip off. Oh, and I've lost my cordage. Luckily it hasn't snapped. I think I need to tighten this bast fibre that's holding it in place. Now I've burned it in, so hopefully it should be a little bit more stable. No, spoke too soon. Also, the pump arm needs to be perpendicular to the spindle stick. And we've lost our bast fiber. I'm just hoping that that string stays on there, because I think we've almost got our ember. Yes, we've got it. That was a fluke. It's because I have a little notch on the end here. I was holding it in place. When you fix that, I'll probably end up gluing this. Although no, actually it is nice to have it loose so that you can take it apart. So there I've got my ember. Now I'm not going to be showing me making a fire with this method, because you've got the gist of it from the hand drill. So the third friction fire method we'll be looking at is the bow drill. It consists of your spindle stick, your bearing block. This can be made of stone or antler or bone, anything that you can drill a dimple in and it's nice and hard. Here I've got a limpet shell, your hearth, something to catch your ember, and your bow. This consists of your a stick or a bit of antler or bone or whatever, and some tough abrasion resistant cordage. Here I've got a leather strap. This method's been found in the Americas, with some beautiful examples made by the Inuits. It's been found in Eurasia with stone bearing blocks dated to about 2500 BC in Iran. Now that's not during prehistory. And then you've also got the ancient Egyptians who used these, which was in North Africa, which isn't prehistory either. So my spindle stick consists of 2 sticks. This isn't necessarily how they always do it. Sometimes it just consists of 1 stick, and then the bottom of this will be your the face that meets the hearth. Then you'll have a much bigger dimple and a much bigger burn hole here. What I've done is I've drilled into that stick, and then I can push in little dowels or offcuts from small sticks into there, so that once they've burned through, I can just take it out and replace it. So I've glued it here and I've wrapped some bast fibers here to prevent it from splitting. Then the other end is a little bit narrower, and that's to reduce friction, because when I use this method, I push down like this on my bearing block, and that holds it like that when it rotates. So I'm going to need a blade, which I should have prepared, but I did not. I'm going to prepare my notch and dimple similar to my pump drill method. It's got to be quite deep to accept the spindle and make sure that it doesn't slip up. And I've also got my sedimentary rock here as a nice stable platform. Now the Inuits, with their bearing blocks, they often would hold them in the mouth, the piece that holds the spindle in place, and that frees up their one hand for doing something. Usually they would hold whatever piece they're drilling into. They would often use this method for drilling holes. And by holding the bearing block in the mouth, they could also use what's called a strap drill, which is similar to this but without your bow. You've just got a leather strap, you wrap it around the spindle and you pull it like this,
And then when you've got that bearing block in your mouth, you can use both your hands. Use my trusty workbench here, just to press the half against. You might be able to tell I'm in a bit of a rush because I don't feel like burning to a crisp. The sun's quite strong today, so that should work. Now with this method it is easy to push too hard, which might make the system not rotate so freely. So what I'm doing here is I'm wrapping my spindle in this cordage like that. I'm sure that there's no kinks. I don't want any kinks. So that should be fine. I'm going to place my spindle on that dimple, and then I'm going to place my bearing block on top. Like so. Now that's nice and stable. I'm going to burn it in. I'm not going to be pressing down too hard because that can also make char build up too quickly. And once that happens, it's going to starve it and you're not going to get your ember. So I'm going at a moderate pace, not pressing down hard at all. Okay, build up. I don't think I have my ember just yet. You can see that the glue's getting quite hot, so my spindle, the end of my spindle's getting slightly dislodged. That's why I also don't want to press too hard with this particular spindle. Might have built up char a little bit too quickly. I think the sun's made my glue soften up a little bit, which is not ideal. I think we still have enough material to maybe go in for one more quick burn, hopefully. think I have my ember. Yep. There you go. So it's better to go slow and steady, as you can see. Although I don't have experience with it, with the face that's touching the baseboard being much wider than this. So when it's wider, that might be a different story. I've seen people going a lot faster, but I don't have to with this, at least. So there's my ember. Oh, I lost it, but there we go. I don't need to make my fire. This was just for demonstrations. So I can put that up.
And so the last friction fire method we'll be looking at is the fire plough. Now, unfortunately, the weather's been unideal for the last couple of days, and my project due date's coming up, so I'm going to have to rely on this backup footage that I shot yesterday, and yeah, I'll just be narrating it for you. So the fire plough is probably one of the earlier friction fire methods, and it's been found in Australia, Polynesia, and some parts of Central Africa, I believe Congo and Zambia. It consists of two parts, the hearth and the plough. Now you won't be able to see in this footage, but the hearth that I'm using is about 1 meter long, so you do need quite a decent amount of material to use this method, and you also do need to spend a considerable amount of time preparing it if you're using primitive methods. As you'll see, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm using a little pocket knife to cut away the material so that it goes a bit quicker. You can get away with using a short, small hearth, but then you'll have to wedge it against something solid, and then maybe also press down on the back with your feet, or use a branch to kind of clamp it down and then sit on top of that, but that can be a bit awkward. Success with this method depends a lot on what wood you're using and the quality of the wood. It seems to work better with softer and more porous wood, and the Polynesians seem to do well with certain species of hibiscus. I'm using Ficus Sur, Cape Ficus as my hearth, and then Coastal Silver Oak as my plough. Here I'm using an edge of a flake to scrape and cut in a new channel that will guide my plough, and I'm doing this on a flat surface that I've prepared. If you wanted to reuse the channel that you've burned in previously to get a new ember, you would have to cut away the surface material so that that channel is now nice and shallow, and that reduces the amount of effort they have to put in initially. So yeah, I'm cleaning up the end of my plough. It must be a nice consistent width. It can't be too thick because it needs to concentrate the friction, but it also can't be too thin because then it will cause a channel to be burnt too deep too quickly into the hearth, and also it'll wear away the plough too quickly. I need to cut off some material at the end of the plough to make a drop point or a lip, and that's to push the char towards the front as you ploughing. I'm stabilizing the hearth by placing my knees on either side and my ankle on top, and I'm holding the plough nice and low to control both the angle at which it meets the hearth as well as the distance at which I'm pushing it. And the angle that it meets the hearth should be about between 30 degrees and 45 degrees. Now, I'm not very experienced with this method, and this is quite a poor demonstration because it shouldn't take this much energy to produce your ember. It depends a lot on your preparation of your materials, making the plough end narrow enough and making sure the angles are right, and also being patient helps a lot, and not pressing too hard. That will prevent you from burning out, and also producing too much char too quickly and then kicking it out rather than making it build up into a nice pile. I saw a nice YouTube video of an Australian chap showing some of the Aboriginal kit, and in it was a wooden shield with decorative grooves that could be used for catching and deflecting spears, as well as for making a fire using the fire plough method, along with a boomerang as the plough. He also showed a wooden bowl known as a Acheulean, which had a groove on the bottom, and that could be used by women who usually carried the Acheulean when they needed their fire, along with their own boomerang as the plough. I'll make sure to link this YouTube video in my bibliography so you can check it out. Sure.
It's a tough method, this one. Phew. Lovely. Got an ember.
And there you have it. That's been 4 prehistoric friction fire methods. I hope you learned something new from this demonstration. I certainly learned a few things from making this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for sticking with me.
I don't care about that. Got in the fool, I like about that. I'm following when I ain't shit desire. I'm gonna be doing your fire. Let me stand next to the 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 fire. Now let's hear it. Stop back to the crack. Mama, you hold my name, my concern. Not me, I won't have fun. The probably when I ain't shit desire. I'm gonna be losing your fire. Let me stand next to the fire. Let me stand next to the fire. Let me stand next to the fire.
What's nice about this method is you can go all day, you can make as many fires as you want. With the other methods like the hand drill and the fire plough, you wear out very quickly. With the hand drill, it's your calluses, you build up, you can get blisters. With the fire plough, you use a lot of energy. I'll show you in the next demonstration, but I'm not very experienced with that method, and it is very, very challenging. I think it does depend a lot on what wood you're using. Now I'm going to get out of the sun before I start to look like fucking Mr. Krabs.